In this world, angels live among us. Many great invincible beings of immeasurable power, a bridge between us and the gods. These creatures are not as you might imagine them. While some are human-like in their appearance, most are alien. A sitting mountain, a giant boar, a hovering sphere. Each of the angels provides a powerful boon to the surrounding area and its inhabitants. They do not speak to us. They do not move. We built our world around them. They shaped our cultures. We rely on them. Until something dark came along. Now, one by one, the angels have been slain. The people of the lands around them slaughtered. A wave of death is spreading across our world. Only a few places remain as a final bastion of life. Only a few against an endless horde of oblivion. And within these few, a single band of unlikely heroes, bound by forces beyond their understanding. In this world, there is only a single word that describes their soul-bound connection.
The dead orange grass of Hillsfar sways gently around Thrakk. The quiet mist of the white violet settles on the landscape as well. And in the distance there are black wings on the horizon. The corpses of your friends lay about you as the small form of Wriggle hops about awkwardly. Suddenly, Wriggle's sort of icicle-like ears fall flat to the back of his head. He turns and hisses at the sky. There's a sort of sickening wave of nausea that creeps over you, Thrakk. Make me a Constitution saving throw, please.
Uh, 14.
A 14. You know what would be good? If I knew what the DC was. Let me double check.
It's 12.
It's 12?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's a lot higher.
Okay.
It's 18.
Excellent. That's really high for me.
It's very high. Because unfortunately, the thing that is causing it to happen to you is very strong. You begin to feel very unwell as the life force is drained from you. We'll come back to that. The door to the tower rattles and shakes a little bit, and suddenly it bursts open. You see the forms of Thors and Hard, but behind them, through the doorway, you also get the sense of other smaller shapes moving around, other people in there, which is bizarre. Very rarely have you ever seen anyone else in there, if at all. I think maybe never. Hard, stepping out, looks sort of across the landscape and then grabs his stomach, Thors kind of grips the side of the doorway immediately as well, as if the two of them immediately come under the effects of whatever this wave of nausea is that passes over you. It sort of buckles them, where you just feel kind of slightly nauseated and sick. They seem to immediately fall under the weight of this thing. However, Hard shouts down the sort of steps towards you. You're probably only about 20 feet away. And he says,
Thrakk, are we too late? We can get Cirrus back into her body with simple alchemy.
They're dead.
Dead? It cannot be.
They're all dead.
Thors pushes past Hard and starts sort of bolting down the stairs, rushing over towards Cirrus's body. As Thors gets quite close, Wriggle rushes in front of where Cirrus's body is and starts hissing at Thors. Thors stops for a moment and says,
This is the creature.
Hard nods at Thors.
We are from the same place, you and I, small one. Do not fear, I am friend, not foe.
Wriggle kind of looks up at Thors, looks over at Thrakk, and says,
He makes me feel sick. He makes me feel like Wriggle is dying.
do you respond?
No. No, I do not.
Thors says,
It is not me, small one. I also feel the sickness. The creature is nearby. The thing that is destroying our world.
Wriggle knows not what you speak. It stays back, or Wriggle bites its fingers off.
Thrakk. What killed them?
Right. Sort of hearing his name again, shifts his gaze quickly, and then slowly looks up at the sky and points. To the small figure in the sky heading towards them.
Thors turns around and looks to the sky. For a moment you get the sense that he doesn't really recognize what he's looking for. Before a moment there, his eyes kind of focus on the wings.
It is close. Quickly, Thrakk. We must get them into the tower.
He spins for a moment, grabbing at his shoulder, shivers a second.
The creature makes me feel very unwell. Very cold.
I walk over to Sia and I'll pick up his body and sling it over my shoulder.
Thors takes
It's
another
not
step towards
difficult.
Cirrus. Wriggle hisses.
It stays back, or it gets its fingers ripped off.
Small one. We do not have time.
Wriggle, come here. And I pat the Yeti fur cloak.
Wriggle looks up at Thrakk, back at Thors, narrowing his eyes, his ears still kind of flat. Wriggle looks back at Thrakk
Wriggle will watch it.
and then jumps up awkwardly again, that kind of horrible bat-like movement through the air, sort of his back legs landing on your chest and scrambling up before finding purchase on the cloak. Thors takes a few steps towards Cirrus and kneels down. There's a moment where his very large Goliath hand runs a thumb across Cirrus's forehead, and then the enormous hand resting on her cheek. He takes in a deep breath, breathes out, and then gently lifts the frame of Cirrus up. He actually appears to struggle to stand again, not under the weight of Cirrus, but as if he's sort of the effects of Mordril are weakening him. Hard moves down and says,
Oh, I have to take this one. This is the biggest one. Okay. Perhaps, I will grab at this part.
shifting awkwardly, Jilden's enormous sort of tortoise shell pulling across the orange grass of Hillsfar. He says,
This is not going to be pretty. Perhaps. Darrow. Will you help? I need something carried inside.
4 of the Darrow come walking out. Bibble, you recognize Thrakk, Bibble, but you don't recognize the others. Shocks of white hair, all of them kind of twisted and weird looking, gaunt, pale, white eyes, scrap clothing with these strange trinkets on some of them. A couple of them with staves and sticks, a couple of them with little, just awful looking weaponry. 4 of them move down the steps. You hear them as they move past talking about fingers and the Fingerland. Like, we're going to the Fingerland. That's where we're going to go. Quickly then. Oh, I don't feel so good. Oh, I'll tell you what, I don't feel so good at all. Oh, what did we eat? We ate something strange.
The turtle. Help. Carry it if you will. I will take the rump.
You see Hard grab at the tortoise shell, Jilden's form kind of awkwardly being pushed about as the Darrow move around. They do seem extremely distracted. They seem you get a sense that they're a little overwhelmed just being outside and looking around. One of them is just completely distracted by the orange grass. What is this then? What is that? What is this growing out of the ground? Can you eat it? Oh, tastes like shite. What is that?
Please. We have to hurry. The creature will be here soon. It moves very fast.
Eventually, the Darrow are kind of ushered around Jilden's form. Thrakk taking Seer inside, Thors taking Cirrus inside, the Darrow and Hard awkwardly lifting Jilden up, but you know, they do a decent job of it, eventually getting Jilden up and into the tower. In the distance, those huge wings grow a little larger as Hard closes the door behind him.
I think perhaps we will have to go somewhere. I don't trust that creature can hurt us, even in here.
The sensation of the sickness that washed over you has kind of passed by stepping inside. You do get the sense that there's an element of it still in. Let me see. Thrakk, roll me 2d6. Eight. You take 8 necrotic damage, and your hit point maximum is reduced by that amount until you finish a long rest. We're back here again. You'll be very pleased to know. Thors says,
Should we move the tower back to Moon?
Hard looks over to you, Thrakk.
What do you think?
I don't know.
I will do it.
Thors looks to Hard as Hard begins to move towards the ladder and the steps that lead down into the basement, and Thors says,
Thrakk, Hard and I have been speaking. We had hoped that you had plans for what we can do next, but do you think we should continue the search for the spear?
I don't think it would. I don't think it will kill him. And the Quura are broken. I don't see we have much hope.
Thors nods at Hard and he steps down into the basement. The Darrow are running chaos. They're picking stuff up off of the shelves. They're constantly speaking. They're constantly rushing past, constantly interacting with things. You see them just straight up lifting things and putting them in pockets. Some of them are putting stuff on their heads. One of them's wearing like a full helm that it looks like the thing that Galactus wears in Marvel. It's just this ridiculous looking thing that's way too big for his head. There are two Darrow that are sitting next to the hearth itself. Much older looking, much more emaciated, and you see them just watching you, Thrakk, as the other Darrow kind of run wild again, mostly speaking about something known as the Fingerland. Thors leans down to Cirrus and, without breaking, without looking up at you, Thrakk, he says,
What happened?
We tried to get her out. And he was there. I thought I could outsmart him. I thought I could cut his ties to the physical realm. And so he cut theirs instead. I killed them. I thought we could do it.
Hard told me that they could be returned to their bodies. That they were not dead, they were projecting, lifted mind and soul, but that they would not die.
Well, I looked down at the lifeless body of Seer, and I nudged his leg with my foot. I don't think that was correct.
Thors places a thumb on the center of Cirrus's forehead, and then he sort of rests his entire hand over where Sirius's heart would be, and he closes his eyes. For a moment, there's a kind of a sensation of a spell being cast. You see that his hands kind of glow, his thumb glowing. You get that, like if you shine a torch through your hands, it looks like that. As you see the bones and veins and ligaments inside of his huge hands over her body. He opens his eyes and says,
You are right. This is a corpse. But we have something, Thrakk. Hard called it alchemy, but it is something from the ancient texts. Something that allows one to be brought back to their body after death for a short time. Perhaps it will still work. Perhaps we can still bring them back to their bodies. With your abilities, maybe we can lock them in there. We can keep them.
What is this magic that you speak of? Alchemy that can perform necromancy?
It is not necromancy. It is a few moments granted to loved ones. Faith, binding them to their bodies. However, it required the blood of an angel, a few other things. We have made 3 potions. I am not sure how the potions work, how the ritual is conducted, but we have to try. Are you prepared? Prepared to try?
What sort of suffering will we give them? Just for a slender chance that they could come back for a few moments. We have no plan. We've got no idea how to kill this thing.
Without them, there is no hope. There is no chance. We have all sacrificed so much. We have to try. There are people in this world still alive. We found the Darrow under the mountain. The people of Moon are still fighting. We must do it for them.
Thrakk looks at the still face of Sirius And he looks at Jordan and Sia. They're at peace now. And soon, we all will be.
Have you given up?
When there is nothing left, not to give up, what should I do?
Why did you try in the first place, Thrakk? Why set out on this journey?
At first, I thought Quura was a weapon of the gods. Or some other entity that did not wish Mordrill to have the power that he does. And then I thought, we are destined. We are destined to win. But when I looked into the future, I try and ask myself for help now. No one was there. Our destiny is death.
Everyone's destiny is death. That is an easy answer. Everything seems impossible until it is done. The wind blows the hardest at the peak of the mountain. We may well almost be there, Thrakk. You are still alive. There are people counting on you. There is always something to fight for. If you do not want to do this, I will not make you. If you do not think you can do this, then you may step away. But I have faith in you and in Seer, Jildan, and Cirrus. I believe you are on a divine quest. And that you will save us all together.
Cirrus would want me to try. Sia would defer. But Julian, I don't think she wants to come back. What is this? Alchemy you speak of?
There's a sort of twisting sensation that runs through you. Again, you get the sense that the others in the room, Thors and the Darrow, don't feel the shift and change as the tower moves. But you do. You're aware of it. You're in tune with this tower. Thors, without recognizing any of this, says,
I do not understand how hard made the potions, but we had to find the blood of an angel, silver lotus petals, tears of a dragon, the essence of Stygian water, the feather of a phoenix bird, and a Thrakk thread.
make me an Arcana check.
That's a 30.
Damn. What is your alchemic knowledge like? What is Thrakk's alchemic knowledge like?
He dabbles in alchemy. He's proficient, and he has a potion maker's lab. He knows alchemy.
Some of these things make sense. It's certainly not a potion you've ever heard of. It doesn't sound like basic potion ingredients. This sounds like a hardcore restorative elixir type things. But those items on their own don't feel like they would make too much sense to you. The ingredients are all extremely rare. Silver lotus petals are presumably from the House of Knowledge. Tears of a Dragon is not an actual set of dragon's tears, but it is a waterfall that is in the kind of northeast of the Riverlands. And Stygian water, it could refer to a sort of myth to do with some sort of almost like a river of Styx kind of mythology in certain cultures. But where Hard found this from, it doesn't really make sense to you. It's not a thing. There's no place that would make sense to you that would have the river Styx or some other version of that same mythology. Feather of a Phoenix is not from the Phoenix, the angel. There are things known as phoenix birds, which are kind of like peacocks, but when their tails bristle, they look as though they're on fire. An etheric thread is elven, super thin, hair thin thread that is unbelievably strong, and extremely rare. these things could potentially make the potion that Thors is talking about. It does make sense that these ingredients would be in there, but it's still not something you've heard of or experienced on a 30. But the check does, the science checks out, for want of a better quote. They did mention a ritual though, which would make a lot more sense to you, that this is part of it's not just a potion, the way that potions might be brewed and given to somebody to heal a wound temporarily. This is more than likely something more to do with the ritual itself. So it does make sense to you, but it's not something that you really understand or have come to understand or brew yourself. So Thors sort of continues and says,
I do not know how to brew potions like this, but Hard assures me that it has been done correctly. We had enough to make 3 vials, but we thought it would give us 3 attempts with Cirrus. Now, it seems we have 1 attempt for each of them.
Can we do 1 at a time? Or must it be done all together?
I have an ancient text which suggests that the ritual be done on 1 body. I do not know. Perhaps we can try all 3, or we go 1 at a time.
I would like to... If we do this, it should be 1 at a time. If it doesn't work, I don't want to put this brief pain on all of them. Seer is who we should try it on.
Okay.
At that moment, Hard steps into view, his head appearing up through the sort of basement hatch in the kitchen area. Again, throughout this entire thing, there are Darrow running around, being loud and frankly annoying constantly. The figure of Hard appears and says,
Okay. I am ready, I think. What is the plan?
We can try this ritual on Seer and see if it works.
Right.
It does.
Okay, yes. I have prepared 3 vials.
he pulls from his hip 3 very small little vials, even smaller in his large hands than they would be in anyone else's, stoppered at the top. In each one it's only about half filled with, it would be like a couple of thimbles worth of red liquid. Matte red, really doesn't look special in any way whatsoever. Almost like very plain looking acrylic paint is probably what it would look like. And he pulls one from a little pouch on his hip and holds it up and says,
Yes. I have made it We calling it the potion of Vol, but who cares? Well then, this one first.
Thors says,
Wait. We cannot do it here. It has to be a quiet, sacred space, free from disturbances.
the Darrow continued to run past. We're going to the Fingerland soon, right? Where are we now? Just constantly, endlessly in the background.
Quiet, sacred space. Well, we are in Moon. We can go to the Angel, or there is a room which I have prepared for just this sort of instance. Which do you think, Thrakk?
The room will be fine.
Right.
Shouldn't waste time.
Okay. Follow me. We will go up. Thors, do I have time for a quick cup of tea? No, you do not have time for... Lead on.
Thors lifts the form of Cirrus and gently places Cirrus on the sort of sofa-like thing that is in this room, that is being held aloft by lots of books. Jildan is kind of awkwardly thrown in one corner, and Thors takes a moment to wrap Jildan's arms across her chest and place her head into a more comfortable position. And he says,
I will let you bring Seer.
I scoop little Seer up in my arms, trying to support his head, and follow.
Hard walks you up the stairs, out of the kind of common area. Thors begins to follow and then turns and says,
Bibble, watch over these bodies. They are very important.
Aye, will do. No problem. No harm will come to them.
is there anything that can harm us in here?
I do not think so.
Aye, alright. No problem at all. You can count on me.
Bibble kind of backs up, crosses his arms, standing in front of Cirrus and Jildan's bodies, and Thors follows you upstairs. Let's see here. The door that the last time we sort of came to this top floor of the tower, when we opened it, there was a sort of circular meditation room where we, and this was in the flashback, but we saw Hard kind of casting a spell. It opens into a similar looking place. The room that you step into is made of that blue stone that you find quite often associated with Goliath architecture. I was going to say archaeology. Wouldn't be too far off either, because this is very old. As he opens the doorway, there is a sense of cold that rushes out, and he steps inside, clicks his fingers, and we see 30 or so candles in a circular motion, each light. In this room, there's another one of those circular platforms similar to the one that he was sat on before and meditating on. However, this one has lots of symbology on it in ancient looking Goliath script. Lots of different depictions of death and caskets and things like that. The room has It's a very tall looking room, but you get the sense that you're underground. It feels very subterranean, and at the center of the far wall, there's a big blue circular rune which is casting a blue light across the area. A sort of mix of the candle light and the blue light, giving the room an odd juxtaposition of cold and warm. Hard steps in and says,
Yes, here we go. I found this place not so long ago, you know, Thors. I was looking for...
Thors puts a hand on him and steps through.
Not now. Yes, well, I suppose, I will close the door. I am not sure what this ritual is. Do you need my help? I do not think so hard. Place Seer at the center of this circle.
Yeah, I sat Seer down gingerly. Are any of his eyes open?
Good question. One for Sia.
No. They would not.
Okay.
Thors takes from his pocket a sort of chunk of chalk and begins drawing circles of runes on the ground around the body of Sia. He then reaches into a different pouch, pulls something out, and then begins to sprinkle sort of a silver dust about the area. He looks around the edges of the room and takes 4 candles. He places one at the one at 12 o'clock on this circle, one at 3, one at 6, one at 9, and says,
This is the northern candle, Thrakk. It represents the soul's divine spark. This candle is the southern, to acknowledge death and shadow. East, for the first breath he will take. West will restore his memories.
Thors takes a moment to pull this sort of ancient looking scroll from his pocket. He stretches the sort of vellum out, taking 2 more candles to keep it held open. He says,
When I say, administer the potion of Vol. Hard, I need a flame. Here.
Hard clicks his fingers, and a flame is conjured at the location that Thors requests.
I need a bowl of some sort. Do you have a bowl, Thrakk?
There's one around here somewhere. Yes, and I have a bowl in my pack.
Thank you.
He places the bowl in the flame. The flame, being magical, just kind of remains. And Thors begins taking different ingredients out from several pouches and placing them into the bowl.
Let purity bind what is scattered. Allow life to bloom once more.
He looks to the sort of ceiling of this place and says,
Let death relinquish its hold. Grant passage to what is lost. Shield against the dark and ignite the spark of renewal. Stitch the soul to the flesh.
He looks to you, Thrakk, and nods.
I take the potion and lift up Sia's head, pouring some of the fluid into his mouth and gently massaging his throat, mimicking swallowing.
Thors suddenly strikes the bowl. The flame and the ingredients scatter across Sia's chest.
I call thee from the veil of shadow, from the halls of the dead, hear me and return to the living world. By the light of the angel's blood, the tears of the dragon, I call thee back to thine vessel. By blood and breath, light and dark, memory and flame, I release thee into the body that was thine own. The thread of the Aether reborn, I bind your soul to your flesh. Let no force tear it asunder. Rise now as the living, as yourself, reborn.
You see the body begin to tremble and shift. The runes that were chalk around Sia fade away, and some of the candles around the room, as well as the 4 that were placed at northeast, south, and west, extinguish themselves. Thors places a hand over their heart, a thumb on Sia's forehead.
May your spirit be whole, and your path forward clear. By the grace of Voriel, the gods, the power of Vol, live once more.
Sia, you have
Yes.
a choice.
Okay.
I'm imagining that the 3 of you have been here all along, just following along in your astral forms here. There is
I have.
a sensation that grips you. And it feels as though you are being summoned back into your body against your will for now. You are being drawn towards it, not necessarily physically, but you get that sensation. But you also get the sensation that there is a choice here that you can choose to reject. What do you do?
Okay. I'm curious as to how it works, so I think what I'll do is I will go with the flow. Whatever is pulling me, I shall follow.
There's a bizarre sensation. You experience sort of flashes of your life, these memories, a sensation of falling and of being dragged, a sensation of disconnect, and then the sensation of having a physical body again. And it's not a comfortable one. Your body has been dead for some time, and your body is in pain. There's a sickness. There's physical pain as your heart begins to beat again suddenly. A thundering in your head as these memories and thoughts rush through you. For Thrakk, Hard, and Thors, Seer's chest lifts up and he's restored. Thors jumps back for a moment watching, glancing at Thrakk and then back to the body.
I take him by the shoulders. Seer, can you
Yes?
hear me?
Oh, what's that revolting taste in my mouth? I hear you.
Do you remember what happened?
Yes. Unfortunately so. Actually, I had quite the interesting vantage point not too long ago from that corner just over there watching you do this. I waved to the corner where I think Cirrus is.
What? What do you mean? You were
Well,
here?
yes. We tried to get the point across, but it didn't quite work. Feel a bit cold, did you? I feel so cold. I guess it makes more than one of us now.
Are they here too then?
Cirrus, are you here? I don't want to roleplay the fact that you might be here if you didn't think you were.
Yeah, I'm here.
Just over there, in that corner. Best seats in the house.
Then you were not dead.
I never said I was.
Thors glances at Thrakk.
Do you remember the campfire?
Yes, it was quite nice. Honestly. I think it was the only moment's respite we had this entire campaign. There's always time for more campfires, I suppose, when the world's in danger.
Will he stay in his body? Do you think?
I think perhaps this is a question for you. Beyond this point, I do not know.
I shake my hand, just like that, wave it like a chop, rather quickly and violently to see. I don't know. I'm inside me, but I wasn't able to get inside me before, but I am now. So I shake it really fast to see if maybe perhaps there's like, I don't know, a lag or something.
Horribly uncomfortable. It's like having pins and needles up your entire arm.
Well, so you're saying this is temporary?
It's intended to be a last goodbye, but there was discussion that maybe we could make it permanent, and I brought you back to see if it would work. If you wanted it.
I see. Isn't that quite the name for a spell? the last goodbye. As for whether or not I want to be alive, not opposed to it. I am now. Why would I not want to be alive? Although the thought of dying again is rather quite a grim one, if unfortunately an all too familiar one. Not sure I want that again.
I began studying the weave of magic that is binding his soul to body, seeing if I can understand its workings and if it's permanent or temporary.
Yeah. Make me an Arcana check.
If ever there was a time that anyone could help me make a good Arcana check, it would be now.
Well, can I cast spells in this form?
No, you tried before. One of you did.
Yeah.
It
okay.
doesn't seem to take.
Yeah, okay.
Your abilities are quite literally just like walk around and very vaguely levitate if you really try.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you just seem to be, just
Yeah.
basic, normal, no spells.
I think
Okay,
you
well-
might be the arcaniest of us all, aren't you?
Yes.
I think what I would do is I would walk over, and even though I can't do anything, now that I know that Sierra is back and the cold has been discussed, I would walk up to Thrakk and I would put my hand on his shoulder just for a moment before he does this roll. Just emotional support and nothing more.
That's definitely serious, because if it was Jill, then it wouldn't be my shoulder. So,
Yeah.
I make this check now. Natural 20 and natural 33.
God damn.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you are looking at a temporary spell that is essentially a soul-bound vessel. The seer has not been resurrected. Seer has been stitched back into his body. Seer's body is still technically a corpse. It's hard to say whether he is an undead or not, because his body is just being occupied by something that is technically living. The astral projection of his soul and mind and spirit is puppeteering his body. It's quite tenuous, this connection, and he is in a state between life and death. Mordrill seems to have no control over this, no influence over this. He really is just, it's Seer puppeteering his own body. Seer is still alive in terms of his soul, spirit, and mind, but his body is fully dead. The spell is just sort of an anchor for his soul to be held in place. And he's just in a liminal state. Basically, this will last. The spell itself, you get the sense, will last maybe 24 hours. But you can top it up. you, Thrakk, can top it up by accessing the weave, essentially, and just rebooting the system. You can continue to refresh that timer, and if it feels like Seer would be leaving his body and beginning to unknit from that state or unanchor, essentially, and you can interpret this however you want, you can perform an Arcana check and shove him back in at this point. Now that the ritual is being held, it's not an actual
dead man
spell.
switch on my soul.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a bit like a dead man switch, just sitting there. But because Thrakk has access to the weave, he can keep just like shoving you back in. Failing the check or failing to do so after about 24 hours, and I say about 24 hours, it's very loose for two reasons. One, we're not really tracking time in the campaign, so it's kind of hard to say how long 24 hours is. And two, it's not an exact science of a spell, so it mechanically and in-game is, we're going to say, roughly 24 hours. Once he's out again, you'll have to either recast this spell, or he's out, and he'll continue to be astral projecting, essentially a ghost, but not quite dead. Seer's soul can die, and his body is going to decay. His soul and his astral projected form being in the body is not going to stop his body from decaying. However, it is kind of vaguely living. He does have a heartbeat. He has like brain waves. He's breathing. You get the sense that he doesn't have to, but it does keep his body from like immediately rotting, rigor mortis setting in, all those kinds of things. As part of this spell, his body is, for all intents and purposes, dead, but will slowly begin to decay over time. If his body takes enough damage, if his body is destroyed, and if his body sort of just rots away and decays to a certain point, there will be nothing that can tether his soul to it. So you have, at the absolute longest, couple of months, maybe. You could push this and keep popping him back in. Seer,
Yes.
you do get some additional features in this state that I will give you and potentially the others later. But you have some things going on here. You have ethereal awareness. You can sort of see a veil between the living and the dead. Your body is technically dead, so you have resistance to necrotic damage and immunity to poison damage. You're also immune to poison condition, disease, any effects that specifically target sort of living creatures. You are anchored to your physical form. If you drop to 0 hit points, you don't fall unconscious. Instead, you remain at 1 hit point, but that's when your soul begins to slip from your body, which is when essentially you're going to essentially be able to make me a save, and on failure, Thrakk has to just stop what he's doing and get you back into your body. You can leave the body as well, and take a sort of ghostly form. But you will have left the body, and you won't ever be able to get back into it again, unless you go on the whole mission to go and get more of the ingredients, and then recreate the potion of Vol, and then redo this ritual.
Okay, so I can't leave the body for a short time, scout around, and come back to it.
Right. I'm just saying that you do technically have the ability to jump out and become ghost form. While occupying your body, you have unnatural control over your flesh. Once per long rest, you can use an action to knit part of your damaged body back together, and you can heal 1d6 plus your con modifier of hit points. If you remain sort of quote-unquote dead without healing for longer than 24 hours, your body begins to decay, and you start to suffer exhaustions at the rate of 1 per day until you're restored. And due to the strange and unnatural nature of your existence, creatures within 10 feet of you feel uneasy.
Well, I mean, that's kind of been my thing for a while.
Which really doesn't change a lot for you. You're sort of in a liminal state. So you appear pretty much as you did before, though over the course of however long it takes, your body will be decaying at a much slower rate than you would find if you just left the body to just rot in the world somewhere. But it is still happening. Bits of you are going to start falling off. You're going to slow down, and you're going to eventually be ejected from your body. So essentially, yeah, that's what you get. Is there any other questions on that?
I had one, yeah. Do I know how to give them sweet, true death?
Yeah, they in their ghostly forms can still be harmed, and you essentially have some different stats, but they become kind of a D&D ghost, and so they can still be killed, and they can still suffer damage because they aren't dead. They're still alive. So even something like being like when we were outside and Mordrill was flying nearby, the three of you would have actually felt that sensation of having your life force taken from you, even though you were in ghostly forms, so or astral forms. So you are still alive. You're just astral projecting and trapped outside of your body, rather than being truly dead, which is why you're now in this odd state, because your body is technically dead, but your soul is still alive.
Right.
So I would then understand how to give them like a full and complete end, where they wouldn't just be floating around.
Yeah, absolutely, they can die.
Okay. I stand over Sia and I say, your body is dead, Sia. There is no changing that. Nothing I can do or anything I know of can change that. I can keep you here for some time, perhaps enough time for us to... I look to Hod, Hod, and then who else is here?
Thors and Wriggle.
Thors. Yeah, I look to Hod and then Thors. Perhaps enough time for us to complete our task. I don't know. But I think the choice should be yours.
A wide grin stretches on my face. You can. What?
I can give you peace, if that's what you desire.
I see. Well, life isn't forever. Bang up job you've done. However, I suppose while I'm here, I may as well make the best of it, right? Who knows? Maybe perhaps there might be some other way. Maybe I'll find myself a new host or something. I don't know. I grin. If that's even possible.
Death is final, and life is full of possibilities. But I don't currently know any way to save your body. I will need to repair your connection every day.
Right. Well, I think just an hour ago you had no idea how to get this far. So, as you say, life is full of possibilities, so I suppose I'll look to the bright side, I say, looking at you. One of my eyes on the forehead open up, but the color isn't quite as neon electric pink. It's dulled somewhat. Doesn't open fully, almost kind of like a slight squint. Maybe less strong. Unbidden. At any rate, I think maybe perhaps we're long due a reunion now with the other two, no?
Sirius is next. Do you want to fast forward a bit? Or
Yes, for the sake of brevity, the ritual is conducted again. Sirius, aware of all of this because you were in the room, you are brought back to your body. You have all of the same sensations, basically. Well, I mean, you know, there is also the option to not come back to your body if you want. There is a choice here.
No, I'm coming back.
And yeah, you sort of come to the figure of Thors, sort of his large face and white eyes looking down at you. The wrinkles around his eyes crease just a moment as the edge of a smile at seeing you return to your body, and then sort of helps you sit up.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I look at Thrakk meaningfully. Thank you.
you could hear everything I said to Seer?
Yes.
What did Jilden say? Did you speak to each other?
Jilden, what did you say? Did we speak to each other?
Yeah. Can I get the time sound effect?
Yes, you can. Hold on. I've got it right here.
In the background, we see Seer and Thrakk having that conversation. Meanwhile, ghostly Cirrus and Jilden are standing at one side of the room with popcorn, watching. What is Jilden doing? Is Leah even here? Yeah, she is. Okay, Jesus. It's happened to me a number of times where I'm like, "And player," and they're just not here, and I'm like, "Oh no." I need to check my DMs that they haven't been like, "There's a family emergency and I had to leave," and I'm like, "Oh, I just didn't even read it." Yeah, Cirrus and Jildan are watching this exchange between Seer and Thrakk. What is Jildan's kind of take here as been going through this and witnessing this?
At first, when this was being discussed, Jildan was insistent upon Seer, holding him by the shoulders, saying, if it doesn't work, make Cirrus take mine! Make her take mine! I was very, very, very forcefully bringing the point home. In listening to the discussion and hearing Thrakk talk about peace, I don't know if I even spoke to Cirrus much at that point. I think I was looking around. I imagine the world we see when we are in spirits is perhaps cliche, but a slight sort of lower opacity than it might usually be. Everything's a little bit less real. Everything feels a little bit far away. I suppose I'm looking at all of this thinking, I don't feel peace right now. And I'd probably say that aloud. This isn't peace either. Is it?
No, it's not. We're unfinished.
Do you think that's just it? Do you think I'll always just be at the command of another, never really able to make my own choice? That's simply my lot in life.
I don't know. But I think that we find a way to make the choices that we can. And perhaps those choices are destiny or fate. Or maybe they're just contributing to the chaos. But either way, to not choose is still a choice.
Do you think you truly chose any of this that has happened to you?
I chose how to react to it. I chose what it would look like for me.
Well, that isn't choosing. That's what people say to make themselves feel better.
I feel better. Is that not enough? Is that not worth it all? If the options are to feel bad or better, you can feel better. You're allowed.
It just always feels like unfinished business. I just wish it felt like my business.
I suppose that is part of your choice. If you accept the business, then it is your business. In a small way, we can have control. But, Jildan, I don't think you would have chosen us. But I'm glad we are yours nonetheless. Sometimes it may not be our choice, but goodness can come of it. There is goodness here too.
I hope one day we understand.
Me too. I want that for you. I want it all for you.
I need the time sound effect again, please.
What did Jilden say? What did Jilden say? And then, I'm assuming, do you tell me all that?
No.
Right.
But I would say she doesn't feel peace as things are. I think she would prefer a choice.
I'll give her a choice then. And I go to retrieve Jilden's body.
And conduct the ritual again.
That's right, yep.
Yeah. The ritual is cast for the third time, bringing Jilden back to your body again. The same sensations, those bizarre flashes of your life and memories, the sort of uncomfortable sensation of being in a body again that has all these senses, and I think also that additional sense of the presence of a dark entity, of sort of demonic energy that is now aware of you again.
There's one thing I agree with Sia on. It tastes like shit.
Why?
I slowly get to my feet.
Is there nothing she won't eat?
I gently take her by the shell and look her in the eye, sort of stooping down. Jilden, I give you a choice. Here and now. If you wish to find your peace, I know how to give it to you. But if you'll try one more time, just really try everything that you are, everything you have. I think I know to get at your demon.
I fix him with a very intense stare. I want to see if he's bluffing. I don't believe him. Going to roll an
You can
insight
make an
check.
insight check, yeah.
It's a 26.
Yeah, he looks pretty earnest. I know you have a hard time trusting people, so, not sure you can tell. I'll leave that up to you. He's not lying.
Remove, not just replace with something, someone.
I don't know how it works. I just know how you might be able to get to her, or it.
Quite frankly, Thrakk, I don't think my piece is yours to give. For that reason, I will try.
Thrakk, lets the shell go and turns around, his hands behind his back, and starts pacing the room.
So what is the plan? We are back at square one, no?
We need
I recognize where we are.
No. But the three of you were, you didn't like wake up, you actually followed them around.
Yeah.
So you don't recognize, none of you would recognize this place. I think it's pretty easy for you to recognize the fact this looks like that Goliath architecture that you'd seen in places. The stone is made of that blue stone that we saw at the beginning of the campaign a lot, that held all those old Goliath, ancient magic structures. But the place doesn't look like anything to any of you.
Odriel is fast, and he is quickly devouring everything alive. It won't be long before Moon is destroyed. The dragon here will fall. Everything will be gone. And as we are not strong enough with a spear or not. We need time.
We still seek this weapon.
We could. But would it work?
I think all signs point to no.
And
Right.
Modriel is parted from his soul, no, his body, the same as we were.
He's a bit different from we, though. For all
Yes,
we know,
maybe.
he's able to weave his own umbilicus back to his body from the astral sea.
Well, let us hope for our sakes that he is weakened somewhat by it, or slowed.
Speaking of, is it possible to do that again? I'm in me, but I don't feel me. Is there a way to reconnect that? Is that even possible?
Are you asking Thrakk?
Yes.
And are you asking whether you can reconnect your astral tether, the life string?
Correct, because I don't believe it is connected, is it?
No, it's not.
I'm a wireless dongle right now.
Yeah, it's not connected, and Thrakk, it is impossible to reconnect.
There is no way that I know of to reconnect you.
Right.
Perhaps there's a way to find another vessel, as you put it. A golem, maybe. But your bodies will decay. And it won't take long.
A golem, you say? I think I'd rather take my chances with a cadaver. But I suppose we'll see.
Keep that in your mind, though. This body's cumbersome. Perhaps it'd be nice to take something else for a spin.
Well, we're not all turtles, are we?
I turn to Thors. Is it possible to put multiple souls in one vessel?
Thors raises an eyebrow and... Let me roll a dice for Thors here. He says,
In all of my years, I have never witnessed such a thing. But I am not the arbiter of souls. I would not know.
I think... No, actually, none of you are aware. Never mind. You are aware out of character. Because I told you during the green room last week or the week before that Mordriel has 2 souls in his body.
You did, yes.
But I don't think you were aware in character, so just...
The mirror told us.
Did the mirror say that? I think the mirror might have said something along those lines. I have the full transcript of the mirror because it was an actual script I had to hand out, so I'll double check. I'm just trying to remember what information you actually have to...
Well, I know we know that he was stabbed and said no to death, and then sort of, didn't he combine with
The dragon.
We know that they
Well,
combine with
with
the
a-
Dragonborn to become
Yeah,
the
well,
Draken
so
League.
you were definitely aware of the story, in that Mordriel... so the lizards in the lizard folk were the only mortals in the other Gaia. And Mordriel bestowed a soul upon their leader, and immediately in doing so sort of digivolved him into a dragon. You know what I mean? Like, that's essentially what happened to him straight away. With the whole
Yes.
that, do you remember that horrible 3D Digimon thing that would happen as well, where it would show you the little
Yes.
Tamagotchi looking thing that would happen?
Horrible. It's
That-
the best.
Oh, dude, it's like the worst
never
thing.
saw it.
War Greymon, baby. War Greymon.
Yeah, and there was the one where
Never seen
it
it.
would just eventually they had so many it would have to fast forward through all of them just so that you didn't have to
Yeah.
watch it every single time. Digimon, it would just do that constantly. And when the spear, so the lizard folk leader struck Mordriel with a spear. In that moment, Mordriel bestowed a soul on the lizard folk leader, which created a miracle of creation, which was creating their first dragon. while he was dying with the spear in his, quote unquote chest, Mordril, and the dragon above him, Mordril took in the power of the spear with the intention to give in to death. His whole thing there was life. It was his last act as, Mordril Prime. And he gave a soul to one of the creatures and then gave in to death by accepting the spear. But in doing so, he bound the power of the spear to himself. And then the dragon was drawn into Mordril, was the wording that the mirror probably would have given you. Which transformed him and ascended him into just a new creature that was neither truly an angel nor a dragon, not alive, not dead. Kind of not too dissimilar to what you are now. Slowly but surely,
Yes.
you are all becoming Mordril, and I love it so much.
Yes.
So you might be able, I would say you might be able to make some sort of educated guess that he has got something like that going on. He does have, he has the energy of the spear and his own previous form and soul, as well as the lizard folk leader's soul, in him. They didn't combine into one. He has two separate souls technically in him, but again, you wouldn't know what the specifics of that was in character. But I think you might be able to, with your interaction with him both in the Astral Sea and in the campfire, you might be able to make some sort of educated guess. I think it's fair to give you that info.
Okay.
And with the mirror info.
Yeah. Okay, with that information in mind, I look back at Thrakk, Jildan, and Seer. Perhaps an option is binding ourselves to the last of the Quura, the dragon. Perhaps if these bodies are decaying and we need a vessel, perhaps that is a suitable one.
That is similar to what I tried to do in the plane. To create something that could oppose Mordril directly.
Yes.
To combine us.
And what
Yes.
happens after? It's all well and good becoming something else to try and take on this being, but I've had a taste of sharing in the past, and I think I've grown to like my agency.
I know that, Seer, and I don't mean to take it from you, but
It is gone
we are
already,
going
is
to
it
die.
not?
Yes,
Your body
we
is
are
not
going to...
you anymore. Look at you.
I bite my tongue ever so slightly, which I feel is character development on that look at you, and then just strike my eyes towards Jildan and go, very well. You may have a point.
I guess
Agency is a fleeting commodity these days. It's not a bad plan, Cirrus. It seems as if, dragon willing, it is our only plan. Should it work, if we have any means of doing it in the first place.
if you think about it, the bond of Quura. The
But-
idea was that we were supposed to work together, be one force, one power. That we are 4 parts of one soul. And the dragon lost his other parts. Maybe... Listen, we're already gone. But we have a chance here to become the thing that perhaps we were meant to be to stop this.
Is it
What
even...
part am I?
What part are you? You're seer. I'm not suggesting that you become lost. I'm suggesting that you become whole.
You're not going to become the hind end of a pantomime donkey if that's what you're worried about. You, as far as I see, all of us, are whole in our own ways, contributing. Same, just together. And perhaps if it is done, perhaps there's a chance we can separate again afterwards. You can go on your way.
I think I've played a good hind so far in this group. I wouldn't mind doing it again. I'm just curious.
See, but that's what I'm talking about, right? Seer. You bring something to the whole that is unlike what the rest of us do. Jilden, you as well. Remember, Jilden, remember when I fell in the cave and you told me that I needed to take care of myself? You were so upset, protective even, of me, for me.
Child, it was selfishness the entire time. If you don't look after yourself, you can't look after me, can you?
That's what I mean. I don't have that. But you do. Thrakk. I can give you the power of faith, and you can give me the power of knowledge. Seer, you can bring the speed and impact. It's like you see in between the lines of things, both in what we say and what we do. Your eyes are always open.
A small smile crawls upon my face, and I say, "My dear, I was never going to say no. You needn't appeal to the choir so."
I'm not appealing to the choir. I'm speaking fact and truth, as I would the weather.
No, this is good to understand, because this is the dragon we would have to convince to share a body with our souls. Are we worthy of such a creature? I recall the last time we met. Didn't end very well.
We are not in the astral plane just because we wish something to be possible does not mean it is. It's not just the dragon we have to ask, we have to see if it can be done at all.
Yes, we tried, didn't we? When we were just ourselves, we tried to occupy you for a brief moment, and it could not be done.
The dragon is also a different Quura. Their connection is with others long gone.
But doesn't it come from the same source? Wouldn't it come from the same source?
Possibly.
And we have Boreal, we have the blessing of an angel, the way that Mordriel was one. I know that Boreal is not the same as the angels that Mordriel describes from his home. But he is still an angel. We have all of the components, though they are scattered and strained. Perhaps the Quura is the spear.
All in all, it does feel like this entire journey is taking us back to square one, but regardless, I am willing to give it a shot. After all, what other choice do we have?
I know I said it earlier, but I don't think it truly is square one. Look at all we've learned. This would not have even been a consideration before. The very idea that our souls can live on without us and still have impact and not be tied to our corporeal forms in this way.
We can try to speak to the dragon, but I still think our best chance is time.
Okay. I trust you.
I trust you. So, do we talk to the dragon? We're here now.
All right.
Yes, perhaps I shouldn't show my face. It might not help with negotiations. I sort of pull my hood up and try to conceal my face, recalling the last time we met with the dragon and the burning sensation I was left with for weeks afterwards.
I put my hand on your shell,
Shoulder.
on your shoulder.
Thank you.
Jildin, you have much changed since you last saw the dragon. Do you not trust that you have? Do you not have trust in yourself to know that you are different?
I am, in some ways, yes. But at my core, who I was will never change.
All right. It is your choice. I turn to Thors and Hod. It appears we desire to treat with a dragon.
Thors nods.
Relocating is still fighting. We can treat with him. Mordriel is quick. Yes. He is able to fly across this world in what? A day? Less?
Yes.
So, do you suspect he is coming here to Moon?
Possibly.
Then we do not have much time.
Yes.
The options are we search for the spear. The last known location was Ku. Go there, recover the spear. Try to use it. Option 2. Stand and make our fight here and now. Perhaps, as you say, Mordriel is weakened from his encounter with you in the Astral Sea. As an addendum, you are thinking to try and bind yourselves to Relocating. and hope that what is created will be strong enough to stand against and defeat Mordrill. Am I following?
Yes.
Hard jumps in.
Option 4. We use the tower. We use Wriggle.
Wriggle sort of perks up on your shoulder.
We travel to another plane. We could go to Mordrill's dead world. We could find another. There must be another. We gather everyone into the tower. Everyone in Moon. And we get out of here. Once and for all. Leave Mordrill to his quest. We would be refugees, but we would be alive.
You want to find another what, precisely?
This world is a lost cause. It is over.
So,
Look at you, you are barely alive.
calm down. I'm barely dead. Also, you want to go from this dying world to one that is already dead.
I have always suspected that the builder, the first to have crafted this tower, traveled here from another place. It is observation that gave us this ability, no? The builder granted us the ability to access the weave, to move the tower. I suspect that we can use the magic of the tower to move to another plane. But it would be permanent. As we travel from tower to tower, the magic remains. Using the tower to send ourselves to another plane would be like ejecting ourselves from it. We would be locked on the other side, but so would Mordrill. How could he follow?
You wish to run from the problems that you have tried to solve. Whilst I'm talking, I'm looking for a hint of Anawari right now, because I've begun to grow wise to her tricks, and what he's saying to me seems bizarre. Like, this isn't... All this time we've been trying to solve this problem, and now he's like, "Oh, give up. If not, this isn't gonna work." So I'm suspicious.
Yeah, roll me an insight check.
21.
This is hard. This is not, Anawari in some sort of disguise or anything like that. But you have a sense that Anawari's presence is here. And by here, I don't mean like invisible and in a corner, but just with you. Much as more like how you felt it years ago, under the assumption that it was, or under the trickery that it was Elnaeus. But you carry Anawari with you, like a parasite, more than what you felt before, which was like, another feeling. But Hard seems to sort of turns to you and says,
It would be a retreat.
And what if Mordrill figures out how to get there, and abandons his quest here for folly and goes to a different plane to continue conquest? We run again?
His quest is what? To kill the gods, not us. If we are no longer here, we are not part of his endless quest for death.
If you believe what he says.
We are. Sorry, Jildan, but we are part of his endless quest for death. Why do you think he's here? His intention is to kill everything the gods created, so that they are forced to look upon him at last. He will hunt you down. He will find a way.
I do not wish to die.
I know, but I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think that perhaps...
No, it's not a bad idea. It's a terrible idea. You know it is. Just tell him it's a bad idea.
I look to Jildan. Perhaps we give some people the choice. And we stay, and we fight. And we, hopefully, defeat Mordrill. And the people who choose to go, go. And they inhabit another place. And maybe, in that action, balance can be restored between the two. It is not right for one world to be dead and the other to live.
I think I agree. Mordriel's plan is to make a signal fire. To signal to the gods that his rebellion and for them to come and see him, and then for him to then fight them. He's not going to rest until everything is ash. Those who cannot fight, who do not want to fight, who are alive, present party notwithstanding, well, it doesn't matter if they leave. They can if they want to. Even if we do stop Mordriel, the world is still ash. But as for us, there's no point. What life is this?
I
We
think
fight
about
and we give up.
I just feel if we fail, what does it matter anyway? What if these gods made more than just our two worlds? They made all the worlds. They're just running from an inevitability.
I don't think we will ever really know. Perhaps if we had more time, we could learn. But
Oh, you are right.
unfortunately, we don't.
Choice. We should give them the choice.
And I think, Thrakk, perhaps you should consider going with Hod. You are alive. Your body is still your own. And the three of us merged with Reothamus would make 4. It is your choice, of course, but I see no reason to cleave your soul from your body.
We can speak to the dragon. But let's say you are able to bind yourself, all 3 of you, to Reothamus. Would it increase your chances if you had the spear as well?
I can't see how it would hurt.
How do
Perhaps.
dragons carry spears anyway? With their feet or their wings or what? Is it a mouth spear?
Tooth spear.
Dragons have arms.
Yeah, dragons have arms and wings and hindquarters, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
You fall into the classic dragons versus wyverns trap.
Wyvern, yeah.
This isn't Game of Thrones. They have arms, you know, or hind legs and front legs and wings and a tail and a neck and a mouth.
Right. Okay.
So I say that in character. I do the little wiggly fingers as well, just as Brad did. And then I say, let's get the spear, and when we get back, we can give it to Reothamus and speak to him about potentially binding some or all of us. See if that could even work. And if it can't, I will go back to the tower, but not to run. For a final gambit. I think the tower is our most powerful tool. And there might be a way we can use it to give us more time.
Very well.
All right.
Children,
Yes. So, you keep that big brain thinking on a new body for me, yes? Just, in your spare time.
you want to keep the shell.
It holds on to a lot of memories.
I can climb in there.
Maybe it'd be nice to be something lithe and tall for once.
May I ask a question?
Me?
Yes.
Yep.
So I have this spell called Gentle Repose. And normally what it does is stop a corpse from decaying for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only problem that I may throw in here is that the corpse must have copper pieces over their eyes for the duration.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of homebrew lawyering that I can do to be able to just stop us from decaying for 10 days? I'm just shooting my shot.
Copper goggles,
Wait.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think
Oh, okay.
that this is part of the spell.
Okay.
I think you'd have to put a copper piece over each of your eyes
Well,
and
we
just
do have to
sellotape them
sleep.
there.
Tom and
We do
Jerry
have to-
style.
If we have to sleep, then at least I could slow the decay or pause the decay during sleep and rest times. We could all just lay there with the copper pieces on our eyes.
Yeah, I don't know if
Grim.
you do need to sleep, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I don't think you do.
But Thrakk would have to.
Thrakk does, yeah.
And then what would we do? Just like sit around?
Well, I mean, Seer never
wash
sleeps
most of the
really
time.
anyway, so
Not really.
it's not. You're just elves.
All right.
Or
Rot away,
warforged.
I guess.
Yeah.
Guess
I
I'll
like
rot
the
then.
idea.
Guess I'll rot then.
But I also really like the idea that the only way you can do this is if you have copper pieces on your eyes
Yeah.
somehow.
So each and every one of our eyes, or I have quite a few to choose from.
Yeah.
Copper
I
piece
mean,
placed on each of the corpse's eyes is what it says. So I think it's all of
Damn.
your eyes. Yeah, you need about
Damn.
40.
30.
for Seer. So
Okay.
yeah, I think you do have to stick with that.
Okay.
writing.
Okay, cool. I'm good with that. I just thought I'd throw it in there.
Mm.
So then, how do we get our spell slots back?
A long rest. Resting doesn't mean sleep. It just means
Okay.
not doing anything strenuous for 8 hours.
Okay. Do you think our bodies being dead counts as nothing strenuous and that we may have full spell slots now?
You know what? Let me give you some mechanical stuff.
I'm
Since
so
we're here.
sorry.
You've done this to yourself. All of you need to pick 2 abilities. One of those abilities, you reduce your ability score by 2. The other one, you reduce it by 1. Not Thrakk. This is the 3 dead characters.
Is there a maximum you can go minus on an ability?
I don't think so.
I think 0, but I think once you hit 0, you're legally dead or something.
If
on
it's
any of these
intelligence,
things.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think
like
strength too.
So yeah, so I'm letting you pick it rather than anything else, and then you can justify what it is. For example, if it was dexterity, maybe your body isn't moving as well as it was before. If it's your mind, it could be the trauma of coming back and now you have PTSD, which is what happens to me every 2 weeks when I get a new £700 tax bill. And my IKEA is reduced by 50 as my brain rots out of my nose.
You just soul punched me out of my body.
So did the £700 random tax bill I got this week.
Hold on, I have to compare our scars now. We have to do the scars theme.
So
25 men went into the water.
Pick one ability score to reduce by 2 and one to reduce by 1. Just for min-maxing sake, it is even numbers that will affect your scores for skills and things. So if you go from a 12 to a 10, it'll go from a +1 to a 0 +0. If you go from a 13 to an 11, or if you go from a 13 to a 12 with the -1, it will still remain a +1. That probably didn't make sense. I'm tired. You'll see. Secondarily, you must lose proficiency in any one skill that you're proficient in. So, justify it how you want, but this is the price of partial death. Also, I gave you kind of some of the, when Seer first came back, some of the features of being a soulbound vessel that are actually kind of useful. Things like the ethereal awareness, being able to see. You have advantage on perception checks to detect invisible creatures and undead beings, or beings that might be sort of ethereal. You have things like resistance to necrotic damage and things like that, but there is a negative element here. Your body, being technically dead, is not fully responsive to your soul's commands. There is an unstable connection. Every time you finish a long rest, you roll a d6. On a roll of 1 or 2, you suffer a penalty to one of your ability scores for that day or until your next long rest. Which we're going to do now. Roll me a d6 and we'll see which score is affected.
Oh, I see. Okay. So because I rolled a 1, it's going to affect my strength.
That's right. You have disadvantage on strength-based checks and saving throws until your next long rest.
Yay!
Or is intelligence, so you have disadvantage on intelligence-based checks and saving throws until your next long rest. Jildan. And Sirius will get back to us within 1 to 5 working days. By the way, I'm going to write this all down. We're going to go through this. And you'll get all of this so you can go over it. And same for you, strength. Disadvantage on strength-based checks and saving throws. So those are the negative sides of the thing, and again I'll write down all of the other elements that you get. You do have some stuff going on. You're resistant to necrotic damage, you're immune to poison damage, you're immune to the poison condition, any diseases or any effects that specifically target living creatures. So if an ability says target one living creature, vampires and stuff have this ability.
Turn undead work really well on us now.
Well, I don't think, because you're not sort of like consciously undead, I don't think it matters too much, because your body is just dead. It isn't really undead. But I'm giving you, there has to be some wiggle room here, because we're no longer playing D&D. People who are like orthodox D&D players hate me. Myre absolutely can't stand everything that I do, but I say at the beginning of every campaign that I run that we're just playing D&D 5e like BradWOTO edition. It's never really just 5e. I just use 5e to present the story that I want to tell and then bring you through the thing, and I try and use 5e to make it as fair as I possibly can, but I love fucking with this stuff so much. But stuff like this, because for me, this is cool. You're these weird puppeteered, part living, not dead, not alive. Your soul's in there somewhere. You're exactly what my villain is. You've become the villain. You're just it's beautiful. It's just, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Long enough to become the villain.
You've lived long enough to become undead, but not quite.
Right.
You have the thing where you don't fall unconscious at 0 hit points. Instead, you begin to just slip out of your body because you're already kind of dead. And once a day, you can heal yourself for 1d6 plus your con mod. And those are the benefits. So there are benefits and there are negatives to this thing. And again, I will write all this down and you can copy it into your sheets and stuff later on. So don't worry too much about the mechanics of it. I'm not going to throw anything at you right now that's going to matter. Quickly roll initiative if something's inside. Because that would be horrible. So those are the quick, just the rundown of what has happened to you here. And out of curiosity, who has done what? Have you chosen your abilities? Leah's so angry with me right now. It's unreal. She's not going to speak to me for a week.
My dex score is now 2.
Oh, wow.
And I removed 1 charisma point.
Possible? How is that possible too?
Well, you know what to say about dump stats. Yeah.
Yeah, just hobbling around at this point.
God.
Okay.
Wow. What
Actually,
point
it might
do
be
you
4.
move
I think
slower?
I accidentally. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, it's 4. It's 4. It's not quite as bad.
4. Okay.
Yep.
I think a baby has a dexterity of 2.
And what skill proficiency did you lose?
I don't have any.
You have no proficiencies? That's not possible. Have you done this
I don't-
entire campaign with no proficiencies?
I've got weapon proficiencies.
Your
That
skill
counts.
proficiencies are the ticked ones like acrobatics, athletics,
Oh
arcana.
yes. Okay, I forgot that's how that worked. Okay. Yeah, you know I'm gonna bin off history, and that's gonna be a very deliberate choice by Jordan.
Right,
I don't
I'm
want to remember that
gonna-
past.
I'm going to try and call for as
I'll
many
remember
of
it
those.
for you. It's fine. Our killer history.
Yeah. And
Everyone
what
just pick
is
intelligence-based
the
stuff.
what
Let's
what
tabletop
is
this.
what has happened to Jildan? Why is she so undexterous now? Is it just having a corpse and being old?
Yeah, this is a big body. You know, the totals are not small and lithe, and I've just come from being a spirit where I was basically like very free, and I think coming back to this body has been very jarring. So
Okay. Yeah, 100%. Okay. Anyone else? Who have you picked?
I've picked. So I've taken 2 off my charisma, so I'm now from 12 to 10, and I figure that's because, well, I'm undead. I'm not quite my usual charming self. Insofar as now there's a bit of even more of a disconnection between thought and intent. And then I've also taken 1 off strength because can't use my fingers the same way I could, I guess, I've lost that. And then I've lost the proficiency in, I guess I'll dump.
It's killing him.
It is killing me. But I'll do athletics. I was gonna do religion because I've never had to use it, but I'll do athletics because I'm a corpse.
Okay.
Inspiration point.
I'd like to just add, also the reason for dexterity is Jildan is very done with her body at this point, I think. Especially considering she came back to her body to find the demon presence still inside it. She doesn't care about this body in the slightest. So she has even less connection than I think everyone else.
All right. Serious.
Yeah. So I took 2 off of my dexterity also, which brings me to 0 dex modifier. And 1 off of my strength. I thought about removing 2 from wisdom because it's like my highest stat, and I was like, well, I could afford it. But like I was just in like a spiritual plane, and I feel the difference between my soul and my body now, and I feel more like a soul than a body. So I was like, okay, I think my body stats are gonna eat it. And then I took away proficiency from nature because I think I no longer have as much of a connection to it now that I'm in a decaying body. It doesn't feel so... Yeah.
Okay.
Natural. It feels unnatural.
Yeah.
Very literal.
Okay. All right. So you have each come back to your bodies. You've come up with this plan. Actually, have you come up with the plan? The plan is the plan to go for the spear then, rather than
I thought we were going for the
The
dragon.
spear first.
your immediate plan is to go for the spear and then come back and talk to the dragon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hard seems not as happy with this plan, but doesn't say so. You just get the sense of him being petulant during this because he just wants to get out of Dodge. Thors seems much more agreeable. I think, Cirrus, you get the sense that Thors is never leaving Voriel. You know, he would not be on the spaceship heading, off-world. He's not getting on the Battlestar. He's just...
No.
And so, Hard says...
So you want to go to Quura, is that right?
That is the place, yes.
Well, I am tired, so you can move the tower there yourself.
And he opens the door. Immediately, the sounds of the Darrow just creating chaos downstairs flood into the chamber that you're in. And he steps out and starts moving down the stairs. You hear the stick of his staff moving on the steps. Thors looks across the four of you and says,
I think what you are doing is noble. I think it is right. But I would not blame you for wanting to leave, for wanting to save and preserve what we have left here. Mordriel is unfathomably strong, an invincible angel. I do not know if the spear will work, or if we can stop him and what he is doing to our world, but I would never blame you if you chose to save yourselves and save who we could.
his eyes land on Cirrus last.
Still, while we are still here, perhaps we fight. At least try. I suppose if it doesn't work, we can use the tower to save as many as we can.
I would like to walk up to Thors, and I put my hand on his shoulder and look him in the eyes. It is honorable for my last act to be to protect this world. I am not the one to save. I'm gone. Nearly. Within days. There will be not much left. But I will fight until my last breath to make sure that you can so that Boreal can touch the lives of others the way he has mine. I look to the Quura the way they have mine. There is much to fight for, even if I am not there to see it.
You are still here. Your spirit is strong. Voriel guides us. But Voriel is a mountain, unmoving. Hold that strength.
His hands close round yours.
As long as you can.
He looks incredibly old in this moment. There's a sensation of exhaustion about him. From you guys have been missing for weeks, I think maybe about a month, a little over a month. That entire time, Moon has just been fighting these waves of undead, and he looks absolutely like wrung out. He's very thin for a Goliath. He's still bigger than all of you, but thin and old. And you can see that to him. He seems withered in front of you. But he smiles. It kind of cracks across the lines in his face and runs up across his Goliath head. And he says,
when our earthly journey is complete, Voriel will lead us to the eternal summit of his grace.
Thank you.
There's a sound of a smashing plate downstairs, and you hear Bibble say,
Oh, look what you've done! Oh, you stupid bastard!
the Darrow kind of rushing around downstairs are creating chaos. And I think it sort of snaps Thors out of this moment, and he says,
Okay. If you do not mind, I am going to go downstairs and sit and try and rest for a bit. This has been an arduous few weeks, and this journey has taken me quite far. We went under the mountain. There was a river of great blood. I understand that you all saw it. There is still life on our world.
he starts moving downstairs. Is Thrakk gonna move the tower? Who goes with Thrakk into the basement? Now, the basement is a different experience once you've been down there once. It's no longer quite the chaotic maze. You can maneuver through it pretty easily and get to the wheel. Yid is still down there, and will come with you and stuff, but you don't have to go through the entire process of a one-shot maze. You've completed it JRPG style, and you can just walk through a door and now you're in the wheel for no reason whatsoever, and we never draw attention to it. You can actually access the maze if you want. All of the rooms are still present, but because you've attuned to the tower, you can just basically maneuver through the maze pretty much however you want, even though if you want to explore the maze, it would continue to be a maze to you. Once you've been to a room, you can kind of get back to it pretty easily. Especially you, Thrakk, but I think everyone with you would be able to do it as well. So, yeah, who's doing what in this moment?
After you.
Yeah, I would just go straight down there. We've got to transport this tower immediately.
Okay.
I think I would come down there with you to see if perhaps I can offer any assistance if you need help.
I don't. It's real easy for me, but you're welcome to come.
He is now proficient in the tower.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, if you followed me, I wouldn't be like, don't follow me. You can, you know.
Yeah, I know how to do this. Thank you.
Yeah. I think I would look at Seer and Jildan. I would just start following you. And then I would look at Seer and Jildan like, are you coming?
I take a couple of steps down and... good gosh, no. No, never mind. And I get back up the stairs and sink into an armchair. It's better.
I think wherever I'm standing, I'd likely just sit down in a cross-leg position and try to meditate. It's been a short while since I've been since I've been in my body, and I need to take stock, I think. So, I just keep to myself, close my eyes, bring out my wax tablet, the red bloodstone, and meditate.
Yeah, there are 12 chaotic Darrow running around. That will not stop being annoying.
Yes, I kick them as they run past every time.
Yeah.
Like, I am the grandma at Christmas. Just like,
Yeah.
off my feet.
One of them seems really familiar to you for some reason, but no, you kick that one, it kicks you back.
I will.
It reaches for something in its pocket, and then it, we see it put its hand around a bomb, and then it lets it go.
She kicks it in the head. It breaks its neck, it dies, gets back up, and keeps running.
Yeah, I genuinely considered just saying at the beginning of this that there are 11 Darrow and leaving it like they lost one on the way. But yeah, I don't. So yeah, Thrakk, you head down into the area where the wheel is, and it's this is gonna take you back to being in Rota, I think, in that you almost have to program this thing by pulling on some elements of every school of magic, but seeing as you've never been there and stuff, you have to really rely on some elements of divination here to be able to figure out where Ku is, and then you have to use all of the elements of your arcane abilities here to turn this wheel, and by turning the wheel you move yourselves within this superposition to another tower, one that is in Ku. Ku is and spelled K-U-U. You're actually in Moon, and even though you never left the tower, you were back in Uma in Moon, in the sort of center north of the world. In the furthest northwestern part of the world, hidden in the mountains, is the tower of the Eternal Nexus that is standing built in Ku. You're able to turn the tower. You do so. The sensation runs through you of moving this enormous place, and even though no one else is aware of it, you are aware of it. even though what looks like outside of the windows to some other people might still look like Hillsfar with the mist and the orange grass, it might look to some others as moon. I think for some of the Darrow, it just always looks like they're still in Daroth under the mountain. They can't quite comprehend this tower at all. They don't know what the fuck is going on, honestly. They think they're going to the Fingerlands. But for you, Thrakk, you're always aware of where you are. And the tower is brought to the land of Ku. For us, or maybe we fast forward here a little bit. You guys, would you guys take a rest here of any kind? And I'll stress this at this point. There is like a horrendous time limit on you from this point on in the campaign. If
a rest is offered, we are absolutely taking a rest
Yeah.
immediately.
I am presently resting, yes.
Yes.
I think from this point on, I'm going to be a little bit more aware of how much time you're spending doing stuff. Just because Mordrill is actively now seeking to find and kill you, as well as, figure out where you are. Mordrill does seem to be able to access the weave and therefore find out where you are, but I don't think he understands the tower. Or did he? He did figure it out a little bit, didn't he?
Not fully.
Yeah, he got some idea that what he wanted to know is if you'd figured out time travel. And he realized that you didn't figure out time travel, but you figured out time and space travel. So movement within space.
Spatial travel.
But he doesn't understand that it's the tower and what superposition is and what's working. He hasn't worked all of that out yet. So he knows that you can kind of teleport great distances essentially, and in doing so, remain one step ahead of him. There's going to be like a world clock here, which is Mordrill whipping about the globe, or just maybe beelining for moon, or coming after you and stuff, depending on where you are and what you're doing and whether he can sense you. So you do have that element. Which I'm just giving you the mechanics of to give you the fair gaming mechanics of endgame. So yes, in this moment it would be a good idea to potentially take the rest if you want. It can be an hour and you can do a short rest, or if you need to do a long rest you can. Now I'm assuming you all need a long rest. And just for the record, none of you are like fully healed from anything.
Yeah.
You were taking.
We're like 1 HP, so yeah.
You were taking damage in the astral plane, which would have been represented in the same way as it was for Cirrus when you were observing Cirrus sort of taking damage in there. Even though it was psychic, it was physically damaging. Her nose was bleeding and stuff. That was happening to you guys as well. Obviously, you're not all linked anymore. So I would say that you're all on 1 HP. Yeah.
Then I was unconscious, like, outside when I was trying to carry them in. So I took 8 damage. And my health was reduced by health point totals were reduced as well.
Alright, I'll say you're on 1 HP. Just
Okay.
for the sake of not going all the way back to the start of the episode and redoing
This
whole
whole
thing.
episode didn't count. Actually.
Hit the time.
None of
Hit the
this
time
happened.
button. Yeah, you're on 1 HP. I'll let you have it because honestly, it was an oversight from me as well. I wanted to do that at the beginning, but too many plates to spin. So 1 HP, everyone, and then whatever spell slots you have is what you have. So if you want to do a long rest now would be the time to do it. So
Yes.
I'm assuming that we will, yeah. So we'll, 7 or 8 hours go by. Those of you that need to sleep, get some sleep. Those of you that are getting used to your bodies are trying to do so. And while obviously your bodies will never really heal again, your spirit and your soul and the damage to your body can be somewhat rectified in terms of HP. So healing spells and things will still work, and rest still recovers energy for all intents and purposes. So you recover your spells, you recover your abilities, you each are fully healed again, or you're at full HP. We'll redo the D6 and stuff because it was between long rests. So we'll see. All of that next week. We'll do that. And I think it's difficult to sleep in this tower at this point, Thrakk, with the Darrow and the chaos that they've sort of brung. You've also got Thors and Hard in here, and while this tower is absolutely, like, technically enormous, you really are only able to occupy these 3 floors that are accessible. The basement might provide some relief, but it's a bit of a nightmare down there as well to potentially sleep down. You might be able to sleep in the hutch with Yeard to get away from the Darrow, alternatively. But sleeping in your room, there's probably like 3 Darrow in your bed when you go to it for the first time, just sleeping. As well as the fact that most of your stuff has been stolen, as far as you can tell. Your peripheral stuff, not your inventory. Or messed with in some way. Wriggle, for the most part, sticks with Thrakk. Wriggle doesn't understand what is going on at all. Wriggle is basically just a dog that has some ability to speak. He thinks that the effects that Mordrill was providing were provided by Thors, and he hisses at Thors every time he sees him. But he's going to stick with you, I think. Yep.
Can I say that one of the Darrow drank a potion I was working on, and they are now 7 foot tall?
They're like a giant blueberry. It's like the Wonka thing. Yeah. Yeah, just wedged in a corner. None of the other Darrow give a shit.
Okay.
Well, Darrow don't care if they die either, so they're not bothered about that. That's kind
true.
of thing. They don't have that same relationship with death. But yeah, you guys get a full long rest. And, you know, after this time passes, Hard is trying to kind of gather all of these Darrow and tell these, sort of explaining constantly.
You must stay within the bounds of the tower no matter what. Do not try and leave.
Oh, we're gonna leave, alright. We're going to the Fingerlands. Is this it? Are we here? Why are you heading towards the door?
No, this is why I am saying we are not where you want to go yet. We are going to have to keep you just stay inside, because if you go out there, we don't know what is waiting. You could be in danger. This is not the Fingerlands. This is a place called Quura. It is a little bit dangerous outside.
And he's just trying to keep back, and then he opens the door to the landscape beyond, as we see for the first time the this desolate looking place that you guys have been sort of toying with heading towards and have finally come to as you arrive in Quura. As the door opens, you are met with this bizarre, desolate, otherworldly looking expanse in front of you. The ground is dry and powdery. It's sort of composed of like fine, pale dust that rises in these soft clouds with any step that might be taken on the terrain. A series of jagged and uneven peaks and shallow craters mar the barren earth. Sharp-edged rocks jut from the ground in unnatural formations that cast these long, kind of eerie shadows under this kind of dim, colourless sky. The air is immediately sort of thin and still. There's an unsettling quiet, as always. No animals, just like no rustling, no life, just the kind of hollow wind moving through the craggy mountain range, and something absolutely massive looms over this landscape. A pretty decent stretch away from where the tower is positioned is this perfectly smooth, cream-coloured sphere, and its surface gleams faintly, just impossibly large, and sitting behind the mountains as though it's sort of resting on the horizon. The sphere itself defies logic to look at. It's bizarre. Up close, it's seemingly frictionless, and it glimmers from a distance because of this. Despite the sort of calm, pale hue of this thing, there's an unsettling presence to it, like this twisted, silent watcher over this landscape. This is the angel Elnaeus, which once hung in the sky, floating above this mountainscape, and has crashed down into the mountains itself, and sat at the very top of this frictionless sphere, far too far away for your eyes to be able to see. We see the wings of Anaware stretch out. And that is where we end today's session. Thank you so much for playing, players, and watching, watchers. This Friday, please tune in to Tablestory for the last shill show. And we'll see you next week.